Alright, no big deal, just in a scary warehouse. Following a murder suspect that also may be getting murdered. You know, damaged, cornered animals are really friendly when you find them. They like that. Here's this hash thing again. What does that mean? Are those just loot spots? It'd probably have some kind of cultural significance that I'll pick up on at some point. Or maybe they just are stashes.
The blood is fresh. Whomever it belongs to could not have got far.
They're definitely frequent blood splots. I'm not gonna lie, I saw that wall and I'm like, that's suspiciously clean and not covered in debris and clutter. It must be a secret door. Definitely the first thought that came to mind. It's conveyors. I feel like on some level there's like an almost contradiction in my behavior, or it's just a little strange that I'm out here investigating and looking for clues, but also I'm just taking shit. And like how those two things could conflict with each other a bit. And the things that I'm finding could, for all I know, I'm just taking the clues and crafting things with them.
The door won't budge.
The door won't budge. It's already open. I'm looking at the horrible— oh, fuck you. Fuck you, 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 what? Fuck you, 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 what? What the fuck? Why are you? It's got like two separate limbs that fuse together at the end. Why? Oh god. Oh, don't get to look at that much longer. Huh? Well, that just showed up. It's gun time, apparently. That went 0 to 100. That was very funny and scary back to back. Like, this is a distressing visual, and then that monster popped up. Should have been very spooky, and it kind of was, but also it was undercut by me beating the door open, and then him looking through an open doorway saying, "The door won't budge," which was hilarious. Don't close behind me. Oh, he's dead. Sir, your son is dead. Or maybe he's not. He's just stabbed up on meat hooks. You can survive that. We might have a very spooky interaction in a moment here where he startles awake when I try to inspect him. Ugh. Ugh. There's another one here. Why did that one fade away? Is somebody feeding them? Is this something the Innsmouthers do? Is feed people to the... Do they feed monkey faces to the... those?
One fatal round through the forehead. That's no accident. This was deliberate.
You mean somebody shot him on purpose? Who would murder somebody on purpose by shooting them in the head? Are you sure it wasn't an industrial accident that shot him in the forehead with a gun? Probably a fishing spill. That's what happened. Oh, all evidence collected. I thought there was another place to check out over here. Okay. So we're just accepting those things are around. He didn't react at all. Like, I'm straight up thinking, like, what? Are these normal? Does he already know what these things are? I thought there was more to look at, but I guess the path I never checked was locked anyway. Alright, let's check out our mind palace. The bar owner is indebted to Lewis. Albert fled when wounded. Lewis pursued Albert. Lewis left the crime scene. Albert was murdered. Lewis pursued Albert. Albert was murdered. That's not... We're not gonna call those connected, huh? Okay. Yeah, how could those be relevant? Pursued after wounded? Okay, there we go. Yeah. Those are literally sequential events. Lewis may have wanted Albert dead. Yeah. There may be some subtle clues about that idea. Lewis may have wanted to kill Albert outright because he was a Throgmorton rather than just drive him off. Oh, keep pressing the wrong buttons. Albert was murdered. The bar owner's indebted to Lewis. Lewis left the crime scene. No? Lewis may be at the bar. Lewis, the Innsmouther that killed Albert Throgmorton, may be hiding in the bar in Oakmont Point. It just straight up says Lewis killed Albert here, but the clue about Albert's murder was like, whoa, I don't know what happened. That's crazy. If only I had some idea what happened, then maybe we could figure this out. So F is focus player. Base is mark. Ooh. Cool. It always places at the local spot. So I can say what I want about these locations. Okay. So what do I want to say about this warehouse? If I want to keep relevant information here, for example, danger, mystery, treasure, blocked passage. Oh, we have a lot of clues here. Albert was murdered. Yeah, that's the relevant clue there. And here I can say house brawl. What happened there? I could say that Robert was found here if I were in the right spot. Lewis may be at the bar. Nah. I'm just kind of toying with this system to take a look at it. Okay. I can track down Albert. We'll give that a go. Anyone out here looking for me? No. Ooh. Should carefully check around our area. Blackwood Marsh Fish Canning Factory. What the fuck? He is gonna fuck that fish. Dude, he's in love with that fish. This is a romance novel cover about a giant fish and a man who could know no other love. I don't... Alright. What do they can them for then? What is the... I'm distressed. No, you don't need to keep putting it everywhere. Stop that. Okay. Do I know where the bar is? That's the port. That's number 1. That's number 2. That's number 3. Cool. I know what those mean. I don't know what those means. Compass mark. Ah. So I can say where to go next if I can find out where to go. I need to find this bar. Maybe I can ask somebody? Hopefully I haven't missed like a previous comment saying where the bar was or something. Or it's right here. Gotcha. Yep, there it is, added to the map. Alright, so yeah, just walk around and stuff will be explored. I didn't even know I was at a bar, but the game did. I'm taking the slightly an inordinate path around here. Can't help but notice that this area is full of nightmare parasite monsters and none of you guys seem to be shooting them. What the fuck, boys? Is there a roadblock over here? Oh, right, because we're not allowed to leave.
The port is closed by order of Robert Throgmorton. Back off.
No trespassing under penalty of law. Are you guys fishy? They don't seem like it. That guy's a little towards it, but I don't know. That guy wasn't super fishy that was used as an example. He just seemed a little jowly.
Hey, got a spare bullet, fella? I ain't eaten in days.
That's not normally what people mean when they talk about eating a bullet. You look suspiciously like a character who would have dialogue.
You look familiar, but old Billy hasn't seen you around.
Or maybe not. Dude, my camera got dark. Sorry, it's rude to shine lights in everybody's faces. Okay, you look expression-filled. What are you up to? Oh. Are you a card reader? Or is this the hot dance around here?
Come closer, troubled soul. Let me tell you what your future holds.
You're some kind of, fortune teller?
Yes, my dear, yes. Oh, it's so clear. Your path holds many surprises, newcomer.
Really? Like what?
Not so fast, newcomer. I see many things. For a small fee, I'll tell you some of them.
Alright, how much? $1?
Your money has no value here, newcomer. After the flood, Oakmonters deal in the practical. Booze, smokes, and bullets. And I'll make it easier for you. I don't smoke.
Let's hear what my future holds.
Good. Let me focus. The sea will be generous in the coming days. Many gifts delivered, and many will regret partaking.
I don't think I follow.
I see old and new. A hard heart against an iron will. Whoever wins, you win too. But you'll only see that from inside a metal cage. And tall pillars circled by the dead. A race from one to the next as time itself laughs.
I think I'd like my bullet back.
It is what it is. The truth will out soon. Me, I just caught an early glimpse.
Why do I feel like I got scammed?
I don't want to be in a metal cage. People would probably default to thinking prison cage, but I'm thinking like shark cage, and that's not a future I want to deal with. Everyone just gotta deal with you, whether they like it or not. I'm just gonna stand here and play. Fucking deal with it.
I'll miss the carpenter's food giveaway with this darn port closure.
Stay alert. Monsters lurk underground. They're everywhere.
Are carpenters known for giving people food? He talks about a food giveaway from the carpenters. And like there's a cake song that has the lyric, a barber can give you a haircut, a carpenter can take you out to lunch.
What's your problem?
Oops, my problem is I'm a video game character, I'm sorry. We struggle to move well.
Welcome to Under the Keel. What do you want?
I've seen some unsettling creatures around, like nothing I've ever encountered. What are they?
So you met a wild beast, newcomer. No one knows what they are, but consider yourself lucky to still be in one piece. They arrived in the flood. Some say they come from the sea. Others that they are Kay's punishment for us.
And what do you say?
If it bleeds, you can kill it. Keep your gun handy. And if you want to erase the memory, I sell a perfect cure right here. Remember, better to be a coward and live than brave and dead. Unless you're a newcomer.
I'm looking for a man by the name of Lewis Flynn. Any chance he's here?
Yeah, even if I knew, I don't rat to newcomers.
As it happens, I know you owe a debt to Mr. Flynn. Trouble is, I found your note near the dead body of Albert Throgmorton, son of Robert. So, it seems Lewis is in trouble. Might have even come here to hide. But you hand him over and he won't be back to collect what you owe. Get me?
Rock. That would explain the blood. Fine. If it gets me out of this mess, you can have him.
So?
He's upstairs. Here's the key. You gotta promise to deal with him once and for all. But save the shooting for outside, huh?
Smart man. There's your good deed for the day. Bye.
He's got such a glib little exit for every conversation. Bye. What are you digging down here, buddy? Or is the floor just rot here? Huh. Anyway, I'm gonna now steal from you. This is stealing, just so we're clear. This is not an abandoned warehouse. The other stuff was arguably also not abandoned. But this is explicitly, I just went into his back room and took his shit.
What the? Get the... Oh. What the... Get the... Oh.
Alright. Alright. Yeah. Given the water problems, it might be time to start trying to build some stuff out of, you know, not wood. Might be a solution. Or will that just sink more?
Hey, who are you? What are you doing?
Charles Reed, private investigator. Mr. Throgmorton hired me to find his son Albert, so I think you know why I'm here.
Throg. That darn bartender. It was all that crazy ape's fault. You hear me?
Calm down. I only want to speak, for now. But no, if you reach for your gun, you'll hit the floor faster than you can say poetic justice.
I got nothing to hide.
Okay, now that I'm seeing him in person, the fishness is a lot more pronounced. Although he might be more fishy than the guy in the photo. If that was, I don't know, it might have been him though.
Start at the beginning. What happened?
We were in our house, me, Paul, and Will. Barry'd gone to the sea. Though I told him that it would only bring bad luck. If he'd listened to me, we'd all still be alive.
Come on, Lewis. Focus.
Right. Well, Barry dragged that damn ape to our house. He was bragging about how much Mr. Throgmorton would give us for saving his son. But that ape, he was out cold. Then woke in an instant and started screaming, attacking us. After that, can't remember a thing.
You shot to kill. No warning, no second chances. You pursued Albert even after he fled. Why?
I can't remember it. When he woke, it was like a bloody mist descended over me. First thing I recall after is that darn warehouse and me covered in blood. I had no idea what happened, though. I suspected it had something to do with that ape. Turns out, I was right.
The things you did to Albert don't look like a bloody rage. A fatal shot to the head, a hidden body. One might start to wonder if it was deliberate.
I don't know what to say. I wasn't myself.
I hear there's a bit of a feud between the Innsmouthers and the Throgmortons. Care to fill me in?
Those apes hated us from the moment we arrived in Oakmont. Our home was destroyed. We just needed a place to stay. The Blackwood Grand family sheltered us, but others were not as hospitable. We needed jobs, food, and medicine. The city denied it all.
And so?
We had to fight for every crumb of bread. And those Throgmortons in their high castle only made our life harder, always conspiring behind our backs, always setting people against us. I'd love to see them suffer like we suffered.
You mentioned a grand family. What do you mean?
So you're a newcomer, huh? Explains a lot.
Yeah, a newcomer with a gun. Answer the question.
Okay. People here are crazy about bloodlines and tradition and reputation. The head honchos of Oakmont are called the Grand Families. There's the Carpenters, who control most of the city's underworld, the Blackwoods, who share kin with Innsmouthers through the Marsh family.
And let me guess, the Throgmortons.
Right, those filthy apes. Now that most of the Blackwoods are gone, there's nobody left to protect us Innsmouthers.
I think I've got all I need.
Please, Mr. Reed, don't tell Throgmorton about me. I know I'm in no position to ask. I didn't want to do whatever it is I did. Honest, have mercy, please. I have a family. Without me, they'll starve.
This is not exactly cut and dry. I need some time to think.
Perhaps I can offer something to grease your grinds. I still have a few bullets on me.
So we need to make up our mind about what we want to do here. His body is guilty of the murder, but his mind may or may not be. On one hand, the idea that a haze came over him and he just went and did it and whoa, crazy, would be a really bad excuse to tell to an outsider who isn't familiar with the stuff. I only just gained evidence of that kind of stuff like a moment ago. And he doesn't know that I know about that potentially being a thing from the other character claiming that he doesn't know that he killed the other guy too. But also this is a really convenient excuse to constantly have, because then everyone in the city can constantly murder people and be all like, whoa, I don't know what happened, crazy. Because we already have 2 today, let alone how many there might be from the past and future and so on. But yeah, if he was lying, this would be a really weak way to lie, because he knows that I'm not from town, so I'm not familiar with this stuff necessarily being a thing that happens so much. Interesting thing, by the way, for him to be accused of murdering that guy, and then constantly just spout all of his racist shit that, you know, you might think sounds a lot like motive, and maybe you don't want to constantly shout that kind of shit if you didn't murder the guy, but know you're suspected of murdering the guy. It just seems like a bad strategy, you know, pro tip and all that. Another question here is, do I want to prioritize what may or may not be justice in this situation, or do I want to prioritize getting in good with certain factions? Because this is also an Innsmouthers versus Throgmortons situation, where whichever one I side with potentially changes how they feel about me and might affect future events depending on how this game handles those kinds of reputations or interactions. So there could be fallout. I will say they did a decent job establishing a lot of this stuff really quickly. Like, they have a previous instance of this crazy murder haze in the same area, so that sets up the idea of me potentially believing him when he brings up the same thing a moment later. And also, they made sure to have 2 different characters talk about bullets as currency on the way into here, so I would then have reason to believe that, to realize that bullets are currency here, so I could then, like, even care about this deal when it's proposed to me. And we've also... I talked about the carpenter taking out to lunch thing. I guess the Carpenters are one of the local families, so it was not a profession name, although it probably was originally a profession name because that's how last names work and all that.
It turns out I arrived here unprepared for business. You give me a little something to get started, and my lips are sealed.
I knew you'd understand. Here you are, Mr. Reed.
4 bullets. Lewis Flynn's testimony. Maybe I might still be allowed to betray him if I want to. Funnily enough. That's always the fun thing, is when a game does give you the option to bleed someone dry as a bribe and then you still betray them. There's a lot of permutation sometimes.
Please, I told you the truth, I swear.
Alright, let's check our mind palace. Lewis was affected by hysteria. Albert was murdered. Yep, that's a connection. Yep. So here's my choice. I have to figure out what my character thinks about this. And so you make... This is an interesting approach. This stuff's often handled via dialogue, and sometimes the dialogue can be frustratingly unclear. In this case, we actually have a concrete menu where we decide what my character's conclusion is about a specific ambiguity in the story, and then we'll proceed forward based on that. I've never seen this before in a game, actually, so that's cool. This is the kind of thing where, without having immersion-breaking conversation, you can just have, like, a very specific menu where you decide what your character's conclusion is about a mystery or a decision or an allegiance, and with very concrete, spelled out language, and then you choose to you basically explain your character choice to the game, and then the game can proceed accordingly. This is an idea stuff could use more potentially. Because, like, when you play D&D and tabletop RPGs, there's so much flexibility because your character could have so much character motivation, and you yourself can, like, make so many different calls along the way, and there's so many permutations you might want to have. And so having the game actually check with you for a moment what you think about something is actually a really helpful step for getting the two of us in sync. So something I don't feel like I'm detached from my character's actions the way you often are in Western RPGs. Not to imply that Japanese RPGs are better at it. Actually, Japanese RPGs tend to just not have choices at all, and are barely RPGs as a result. So here, even though I took the bribe, I can still choose whether or not I think he was doing it deliberately or not. And they do leave ambiguity here, because the other character, who was in a crazed blood haze, he just grabbed a barrel and crushed that guy with a barrel, and then snapped out of the haze, and is just confused and torn and losing his mind, and so on. Yeah, that guy was very specifically showing symptoms that he's still not over whatever happened to him, and he was only in the crazy haze for a moment. Although whereas this guy, instead of being in a brief burst of outrage, he deliberately followed him over great distances, operating a tool that itself requires more effort and intellect to use, being a gun that has to be operated and aimed and trained and so on. He deliberately chased him for blocks. Then when he got to the cannery, he shot him in the head and put him up on meat hooks. And then he locked the door. So yeah, after all that, he hid the body by locking the door with a padlock. Then he fled to here, where he could use his connections to hide out. So he said he didn't know what happened, but he locked the body away, and then he hid out. So he knows that he's in trouble and did something. and he knew that he should hide here. The level of steps there is kind of starting to indicate that he may be somebody who knew exactly what he did, and he's using what might be a common excuse around here to cover up what he did, because, well, no, it was a crazy blood haze is definitely a convenient excuse, but there are huge differences between the behavior between him and the other character who was affected this way. But there's two things that could be affecting that. One, there's the biological component. One is a human and one is an Innsmouther, which I have no idea how much that might affect things, but if you're a fish person, maybe you're affected less, or maybe you are more articulate when you're affected and then you get over it faster when you get Cthulhu'd, as I'll put it. But also, the guy who is still freaking out was also still hanging out in the same building where the thing originally happened, whereas this guy got distance, and that might affect things too. So in other words, there's a lot of things I can come up with that leads to both things being reasonable conclusions to draw, which ultimately means that I shouldn't actually have a concrete choice yet, but here I am making it. So, oh boy. Huh. I'm gonna go with, as you've heard, I've come up with the 500 reasons why both of these answers could be wrong. So, yeah, no matter what, I could be making a mistake here. But I'm gonna go with the idea that because of the difference in behavior between the two examples I have, that he was being deliberate here. We're gonna say that Lewis was aware of his actions. Which link... Ah, that links... So these three things link together to this conclusion, I guess? Lewis deliberately murdered Albert. Psychic influence or not, Lewis was out to murder Albert Throgmorton. He had a motive too, the mutual hatred between Innsmouthers and the Throgmortons. I must tell Robert Throgmorton the truth and bring the murderer to justice. Alright. This game is off to an interesting start. This particular way of investigating, and the fact that there was so much evidence I could draw on for both directions, like this could be a compelling Let's Play. Hopefully I'll have enough to talk about where I can have like a big 5-minute dissection of each case like that, because that's not common. That's cool. That means that there's details here. Of course, it'll be up to me to actually pick up on said details to even have so much to discuss in these cases like I just did. Hopefully I'll continue to pick up on stuff, and also hopefully the details will still be there in the future. Either way, good first impression.